G'day everyone and welcome to When Day Breaks. This time, the good doctor is here, SCP-049, but he won't be recommending fresh air and exercise. As with everything relating to the When Day Breaks event, it's best to just stay inside.
And while the rest of the world turns into human sludge, you can browse the entire internet. But to see every possible film, show, and stay protected from any hackers safe in their sunproof basements, you're gonna need Atlas VPN for that. Atlas VPN is a data encryption tool that hides and replaces your virtual location on the internet. With this tool, you can choose where you want your location to show as. Geo-restrictions prevent you from streaming certain films in certain countries, but if you select the UK as your location, for example, you can suddenly stream all these new films and shows that you could only access in the UK. Changing your digital location also alters the costs of online services, such as subscription packages and streaming sites. Many platforms and even airline companies track your internet cookies and IP address to display appropriate prices. Change your location to somewhere cheaper and boom! You've got the same products, they're just cheaper. Also, a random username does not grant you full anonymity online. Your IP address can be tracked to find your real address and sensitive information, which can then be sold, leaked, or used as blackmail. Atlas VPN will block any malicious links and disguise and replace your IP address. And with the Data Breach Monitor tool, you'll be able to do a web-wide search to see if any of your personal information was leaked in any data breaches. To stay fully protected online, download Atlas VPN now. It's supported on all devices, comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee, and you can find the link in the description below. Chief Engineer Murphy O'Neill of Site 54 cautiously stepped backwards, firing round after round into a crowd of humanoid creations lumbering their way towards him. A couple went down, but the rest barely seemed to notice. The door! Open it now!
Murphy turned and shouted at his companions before returning back to firing. The SCP-131 twins frantically cooed at each other as they attempted to override the door security. 131A barged through his sibling and entered the override code that the other was too careless to get right the first time. As the door lifted, Murphy slung his rifle to his side and pushed the trolley carrying the twins through the door. He slammed a fist against the emergency lockdown system, sealing the door for good. He dropped to his knees and breathed hard, before giving the twins a stern look.
What happened back there, guys?
The 131 items began chirping frantically, but Murphy held up a hand.
Never mind. I'm sorry I asked, jeez.
Murphy stood up and began pushing the trolley down the corridor. This trolley was one of his greatest creations in his opinion. When things all went to pot and all the dangerous things got loose, SCP-131 actively tried to help people. He had rewarded them by building them their own method of locomotion and interaction. An interface tracked their eye movements. They could use this interface to wirelessly interact with site systems. They could even communicate with Murphy through a module built into his mechanical left arm. They were named Oscar and Yasmin, and they were his only friends. Murphy slung his bag off his shoulder and dropped it on the trolley, revealing a number of mechanical parts and electrical circuits. The twins came over to investigate. Oscar began chirping and Murphy heard the words relayed from the trolley to his arm module.
Are these the parts?
They are. They ought to fix the busted transmitter.
Yasmin chimed in.
Do you think anyone will hear us this time?
I hope so.
Their home was quite an extravagance. He had taken up residence within the site director's office. Sofas, a TV, a private bathroom, and even sleeping accommodation. The windows were all blacked out. The twins disembarked the trolley and raced over to a small indoor jungle gym Murphy had built for them. Murphy fired up the kettle as he pulled a pot noodle from his stash. Not the most nutritious meal, but it had been a tough day. He needed something easy. He set himself down at the computer with his noodles while the twins played a game of tag. The CCTV didn't show anything of real consequence. Empty halls, except for a few hordes of 049 creations in the lower levels. Site 54 was isolated in the desert and relied on solar energy. Unfortunately, the generators failed when the sun went weird. The system fused, the security went down, and all the SCPs got loose. The staff took refuge in the lower levels, while the SCPs got turned to mush in the sunlight. Murphy volunteered to go and fix the system, but unknown to them all, SCP-049 had been down there with them the entire time. he quietly converted survivors into his own creations, and before long, Murphy was the only one left. Murphy turned off the display, drained the last of his noodles, and sat down at the sofa.
You two, come here.
The twins produced a slightly sad tone as they reluctantly left the play area and joined Murphy.
Look, I understand there is a lot of pressure on you both in the heat of it, but we can't afford slip-ups like that. Thankfully for you, Yasmin, Oscar took the initiative and got that door open. Otherwise I'd be a zombie by now, and you would both be... well, I don't know what he would have done with you two.
The twins looked down and produced another sad tone. Murphy felt his wrist vibrate again.
We're sorry.
Alright, now, why don't you go and find us a movie?
Yasmin gave a very excited squeal and made a beeline straight for a DVD of Moana sat beneath the TV.
Again? We watched that one yesterday. And the day before.
Oscar joined in and also began offering Murphy excited tones. Defeated, Murphy set the film to play and left the twins to watch it while he went instead to get some sleep. The scorched desert winds hammered Murphy's biosuit as he tightened the last few bolts on the transmitter. While the sunlight was harsh, actual 001 flesh entities were very rare to see out here. A blessing that this site was built in such a remote place. He was on the roof and a glance out across the sandy dunes provided both the assurance of no flesh activity, but also reminded him that once the supplies ran out, he was screwed.
Anything!
He called out to the twins, who were at the bottom of the maintenance ladder monitoring a display on the wall.
Transmitter operational. The only signal being received is the repeat from Site 19. Nothing else.
Murphy sighed and slumped against the transmitter. Nothing. Not even a whisper from anyone else out there. He packed up his tools and began descending the ladder. A sudden bang rocked the facility, and he fell the last few rungs, landing awkwardly with a yelp, twisting his ankle. The twins rushed over to see how he was, but he ushered them away as he quickly began checking the monitor for CCTV and system diagnostics.
The lower levels have been breached.
Multiple large-scale biomasses detected.
The flesh?
No external breaches detected, or any 001 indications.
049's been making something, it seems.
Biomass ascending to level 3.
Shit! Don't let them get to level 2. Activate the Tesla gates while I get the CCTV up for that level.
Biomass ascending to level 2. Tesla gates online. Biomass contained.
The monitor fired up with a CCTV display, and the twins came over to view the horror. Standing at nearly 7 feet tall was this monolithic creature. Several of them, in fact. Humans with hulking frames and contorted faces. Their skin was all torn and stretched and frayed, unable to hold in the muscle bulging out from the body. Their faces conveyed nothing but rage and animalistic expressions. One of the creatures showed severe burns to its face and body. Murphy figured that one had run into the Tesla gate.
Oh, we need to get back home. Oscar, can you monitor the system remotely?
Oscar gave an acknowledging tone, and Murphy began pushing them down the corridors with haste.
Ring the rosies, a pocket full of posies, a tissue, we all fall down.
The lights went out.
Oscar?
Power cut in the lower levels. Fault detected in the main circuit.
A few seconds later, and the corridors were awash in the emergency red lights. Murphy began running through the corridors as fast as his throbbing ankle would allow.
Insufficient power. Tesla gates disabled. Biomass ascending to level 1.
Fuck! Where are they?
Murphy screeched to a halt as a horde of his former colleagues came around the corner ahead of him. He shouldered his rifle and began firing into the group. The trolley immediately did a 180 turn and began heading down another corridor. The sound of thunderous crashes echoed all around them. Those things were getting closer. As the twins went round another corner, a piercing screech came from them both. Murphy went round after them and came face to face with SCP-049.
There you are. Stop resisting. I'm here to cure you.
Murphy instantly ducked under the arm and thrust the butt of his rifle into 049's side, sending him falling to the floor in a cry of pain. Murphy raised the muzzle and fired 2 shots into the back of 049's head, sending pieces of mask, skull, and splashes of blood across the wall behind him. The robed man fell to the floor, coughing up pieces of his own jaw.
Proximity alert!
Murphy had no time to react as a colossal fist came through the wall. Murphy felt something hit his chest, the sound of smashing glass filled his ears, and the sight of the quickly approaching entrance hall floor filled his vision as he plummeted towards it. Murphy opened his eyes and felt a jolt of pain coming from his chest with each breath. He had definitely cracked a couple of ribs in the fall. Across from him, Yasmin was screaming mournful tones as they circled the remains of Oscar, who had been crushed by debris. He regained his footing and approached Yasmin, who was still screaming. They began quickly looking from Murphy to Oscar, as if indicating for Murphy to do something.
I'm so sorry, little one.
Yasmin looked straight at him and began making more aggressive tones. Even with the trolley gone, Murphy could tell Yasmin was in terrible pain.
I can't fix him. I'm sorry.
The wall in front of them suddenly crumbled as the creatures came trampling in, followed by a horde of people he once knew. Yasmin cowered behind Murphy as they both backed up against the entrance gate behind them. The creatures cornered them both in a semicircle, and then just stopped. They just stared at them both. A sudden raspier, echoing breath took precedence as SCP-049 limped into view and approached Murphy. He was a mess. Blood and gore adorned the front of his robes. Absent an eye and most of his face, Murphy's earlier shots had inflicted considerable damage. Yasmin rushed forward and stood between Murphy and SCP-049, defiantly shouting at him. SCP-049 kicked Yasmin across the room, where one of the large creatures rose his foot and crushed Yasmin under it. Murphy screamed and ran at SCP-049 in anger and went to strike him. SCP-049, however, simply moved aside and kicked Murphy in his already hurting ankle and sent him sprawling to the ground. He then stood over him, dripping blood still. There was only one hope left. Murphy reached into his biosuit trouser leg pocket and pulled out an emergency flare.
Your bullets did not stop me. You think that will?
No. But I know something that will.
Murphy said, before aiming the flare and firing it up towards the ceiling. The fire suppression system immediately activated. An alarm began blaring, water poured down from the ceiling, and the entrance gate began to open. Sunlight poured into the room. SCP-049 roared as his creations began melting before his eyes, turning into flesh. Months of work and refinement gone in seconds. He turned back to Murphy, who was already limping away towards another corridor. He made to follow him, but a fleshy appendage grabbed him by the leg. The gate continued to descend, bathing more of the room in sunlight. He backed away and pressed himself against the wall. Murphy turned to see SCP-049 give him a look of anger and fear as he closed the door, leaving the doctor to the mercy of the flesh. And that concludes this When Day Breaks video. When Day Breaks will return in October, when we will venture to Undublin. Please leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Big thanks to all those who helped, and a massive thank you to all the amazing patrons and members who keep the channel going. Please consider joining them. And thank you to Rick Trexon, General's Alert, Wings of a Meme, JT Walker, Horizons, Nicholas, Number of the East, Fallen Angel, Pepperfish, Wedge the First, Lesby Friends, Razman and Tufty, Splendy the Tear God, Miss Talancaro and the Lav. Big thanks to the council members Arctoast, Kibara, Captain Core, Hunter Killer, Tree, Arctos, Cat Clone, Kilo, Bob, Savagion, Lil Sud, Nick S and Monarch. And huge thanks to the administrators Viger, Kamana, Wunderschnell, Romulus and GFHD. Thank you all for watching, I'll see you all soon, and take care.